RWBY Volume 8, Episode 9, Witch. So before we get into this review, I'd like to randomly thank RWBY for being my new, Saturday morning cartoon. I've thought about that a few times, and then today it really hit because I was sitting and I'm in my freaking Spider-Man pajama shorts eating cream of wheat, which is incredibly delicious if you've never had it. And just all my fat was hanging out. I was topless, of course. And I was just like, yeah, it's a Saturday morning. So. And then things got real crazy, and I was like, that would never happen in Static Shock. But this was a good episode. Some might say, maybe this should have been the 100th freaking episode because it was way better than the last one, to me personally. Obviously, everybody has different opinions, but I harped on that a lot. If you didn't see my last review, you can check it out. But to sum all that up, the last episode, it was not only the mid-season premiere, but it was the 100th episode, and I was like, yeah, we got a cool reveal, but things were lackluster. The action was way better in this episode. It was way more intense because I didn't think anything crazy would happen in the last episode. I was like, oh, he's going to get Penny, and that's just cool. This episode, I was actually like, I'm not 100% certain what's about to happen. Like, I figured somebody might die, and I was like, it's probably not going to be, our heroes. But I was like, Emerald and Hazel are kind of in the same little camp, and I'm like, both of them could die. And obviously, I think I was the same as everyone. I was like, despite the fact that they basically made her hair blue, which I still don't understand, I want Emerald to live. Sorry, Hazel, I just don't care about you. And I think he's dead. I would have to assume that he did not make it out of that end moment that we had there. So that was pretty nuts. But the whole episode, I was like, this should have been the mid-season premiere, for sure. And they easily could have swapped it. I think the only reason it came out in the order that it did is because they jumped back and forth. And I think technically the mid-season finale also dealt with, Yang's group and everything. So it's like, I understand why they did that, but I wouldn't have hated it because this would have been a much better, like, holy crap, this was the 100th episode because, for one, we actually got to see Salem physically fight somebody, which was super cool. Second, we got to see her, like, kind of die a bunch. Like, Yang got her when she hit her with all the bombs in the chest and, like, her chest blew up. That was probably, animation-wise, that was one of my favorite moments because when she died, it was like, spikes kind of shot up out of her a little bit, and I was like, that just looked really cool. It was like her body exploding, but then it froze, and it was like, okay, hold on, and then it like formed back together. I thought that was great. Like, even though she was backwards, she was just like, okay, that hurt. I would have died from that, but let me do this. And that's cool because I didn't think of it much, but I was like, oh yeah, that would happen because Grimm don't have aura. So for characters and people that don't have aura, it's kind of like when Adam was, of course, still alive. His whole thing was that he could cut through people's aura. So it's like, oh, you can actually hurt somebody. Like, they can't take a couple of hits and like, oh man, this is tough. He would just cut through you. So with her not having aura, everything they do has the natural real world impact that it would on a human being. Like, putting a bunch of sticky bombs on someone's chest would blow them apart and kill them. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So they were allowed to kind of get a bit grotesque with it. Like, even at the end, when Hazel jumped into the fight and he's punching her and blood is just shooting out like side to side, I'm like, this is really cool. Like, it's one of the few characters they can kind of get grotesque with because that's what would happen to an actual human. Like, you can't get hit with sticky bombs and then be like, ow, that's tough. Like, you would blow up and there would just be bits and pieces everywhere. With her basically just being goo on the inside, it's an easy way to do it. Like, oh, it's not really blood, it's it's black goo, it's tar, whatever you want to call it. So kind of get through that little bit of censorship there, even though obviously it's Roosterteeth's show, but I'm sure they don't want to go that hardcore with it and just be like, yeah, it's just red blood splattered all over the place. So I was like, that's a great way to do it. I love the animation where like her body, when it reforms, it's like bubbling back up to the surface and then it, she's back together. So I loved it. I thought that was great. And also Salem was just losing everybody at this point. Excuse me. So we knew Cinder was gone. We knew Neo was gonna stick with Cinder. We knew Emerald was gonna be like, well, of course I'm gonna be with Cinder. And then of course the whole point of Hazel talking to Oscar, they were like, what if we just tell him the truth? And so of course that's exactly what happens. And they kind of go through the motions, and it's like, all right, either you're lying, and if I take that to Salem, then I'm screwed because she'll be super pissed. That'll hurt me before it hurts you. But if you're telling the truth, then I think I got everything I need to know. So they bring Jen out. I was like, okay, all my questions have been answered. I know what I need to do, so I'm going to get you out of here. I'm going to get Emerald out of here. And then they're like, all right, we'll leave the lamp because if that, is taken, alarms will go off your whole crazy situation. So we'll get you out, then we'll come back. Everything will be good. They walk out, and of course, Neo's just like, well, how about that? So I know how to do it now. She's invisible. She just walks in. She obviously just picks up the thing. So she's going to take that to Cinder wherever she may be. And the lamp is gone. And we'll just have to wait and see. They probably won't even show that in the next episode because who knows when they're going to kind of get back to Cinder. I hope they do because considering she was in the last episode, I think they might end up starting to tie her with kind of Ruby's side of the story. So we'll probably end up seeing her in the next episode. But I was like, okay, Neo has the lamp again, so we'll see what happens. See, this is what I mean. At some point, we're gonna get like 3 more episodes in, and they're gonna be like, you know what? Neo is too good. We need to kill her off because she actually gets stuff done. I mentioned it in my last review, and it seems they just kill off characters that just can't do it right. And Neo's the only one. Neo should be like one of the main villains. She's obviously useful. So we'll see what happens. But I love the action in this episode. I thought it was actually entertaining. We got to see the team a little bit. Also, so with the Jean thing, did Meryl call him Juan? Am I crazy? Because he said that, and I was like, no one's named Juan, and I assume that the only thing I could think of is that he was supposed to be saying Jean, and no one corrected him when he actually read it, and it was like, oh, you're supposed to pronounce it Jean, and so I'm like, that's interesting. I don't know, because it's not like he has much of an accent or anything, so it's not like Meryl can't say Jean. I'm like, no, he said Juan, unless he said something else, but I'm like, it sounded like Juan to me, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Jean. So that was weird. I was like, they didn't correct that. So that was interesting. But with Yang's team, they seem to have a bit of a bonding moment. Ren talks about how Yang doesn't have to hide all of her fear with the joke. Also, Yang had a pretty cool moment when she talked about Summer being her mom and stuff like that. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. But we also find out that Jean is fine. He's just super optimistic. He's like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna succeed. Everything's gonna be fine. And I thought that was kind of cool. They had that nice little bonding moment. They're friends again. Of course, they had that that giant argument where Ren is just pissed off and everything. But coming back around, they are officially like a nice full team again. So I was happy about that. I was like, okay, it was simple, but I liked it mostly because it was like at this point, I think inner turmoil is pointless. Like, who cares? Like they got way bigger issues to deal with. So let's kind of keep moving and just be like, all right, they had their argument. It fit for the time. I fit for the time because that was an amazing moment. But I was like, if that carried on for like the rest of the season, that would have been dumb. And so I was glad it was like they had that great moment. Ren said what everybody was thinking. He was like being logical. And then it was like, all right, they got past it. Now they're on this big ship. Things are pretty crazy, but we can figure this out. And I was like, all right, optimistic, simple, and then they moved past it. I was happy about that. So I actually really enjoyed the episode. Once again, this really should have been the 100th episode. If you wanted to have like a celebratory 100th, this should have been the one where you physically fight the main villain. This is the first time they have ever actually done that. And I don't know why they wouldn't just be like, we should work on that first. Like, even if it slightly threw things out of order where it was, 2 episodes in a row of, Yang's team, it would have been better, personally speaking. I would love to know your thoughts on that, but I don't know why I got so much fun. But I like the episode. I'm very excited to see what they do next because, if I'm not mistaken, Tyrion is gone. So Salem doesn't have any help right now. So Tyrion is gone with Mercury. So I would assume, I think even when they left, I was like, well, they're gone for the rest of the season because they went somewhere else. So they're gone. Watts is with Cinder, so odds are he's going to make some sort of deal where she's like, I think we can do this. And especially when it comes down to everyone has left her, I think Watts is the type of character that's like, you got like one person who cares about you, and he left on a mission. I think I'm going to stick with Cinder now. Like, I feel like that has to be where it's headed. So I don't know if this is doing pretty much what I figured they would do. I'm like, this has to be leading into Salem dying because everyone has left her now. The one person she had, he's gone. So everyone is left. Hazel will sacrifice himself to try to, buy them some extra time. I don't know what the plan is. Maybe I'm forgetting, but I don't know if they've actually shown us before exactly what Oscar and Ozpin were planning. So I don't know what they're utilizing, like with that ability, with the magic that they're using. I don't know what the plan is there. Like, are they just going to freeze her in time? And she's, stuck in a time loop where she's just being burned like a witch, which is appropriate. So I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen there because I was like, okay, I know that he can basically make himself faster, and it definitely, it's gears and clocks and stuff, so it's definitely something manipulating time. So maybe that's what it is. They're just going to slow her down forever, or, something weird like that, or just for a super long time at least. But everyone's left Salem's side. Everyone has abandoned her. The heroes were obviously already against her. The villains are basically going to turn against her, as, villains, of course, do. So she has nobody. She pretty much has nothing right now, except for, her massive armies of Grimm, which Team Funky are fighting. That was cool to see them for, the split second that we did. I love the fact that this is the episode that also made me notice that every unimportant character. You know, they were all in their helmets and stuff, and I'm like, Team Funky could have been in their helmets. Like, they have the mouthpiece. I would assume, you know, the helmets are decent protection for your head. It probably gives you much better vision. Like, you would technically have, you know, all sorts of gadgets and whatever in those helmets. And I'm like, it's just fun. You know, that's a TV thing. But I was like, that's just super funny to me because I'm like, these random people, all these people who just have all their helmets on, and it's like, but here's these four characters that are a team, so of course they have to not have helmets on and stuff. But they, you know, the rest of the outfits, and of course, yeah, and having the roller skates is just funny. But I was like, that was cool. You know, we got to see them just a tiny bit, so that was nice. But I don't know what's gonna happen next. I think it should be exciting though. I mean, like I said, Salem is the villain by herself. And I feel like at this point, they have to be teaming up. The heroes have to team up with the villains. They're going to do something to try to take her down. But also, I don't know what Cinder's going to ask. That's the big thing. Because I don't think she's going to just ask, how do we get into the vault? Like, there's other questions. Like, they've already done enough of an attack to, if they use the lamp, there's no reason to ask a stupid question like, where's the vault? That's something that they could easily find out. So they're going to have something bigger that they can ask and utilize their final question for. So that I'm curious about. Unless they just say, you know, where's the vault? And I'm like, I guess. But I'm like, you're so close. I think they're good. Like, I think they can find that on their own and then save the wish or save the question for something else. So that's what I'm interested in now. Like, what can they utilize the lamp for? Because there's, you know, they don't need to worry about that. Like, where is it? Where's the staff? So I think that's the easy part. Then it's like, so what comes next? So I think that's kind of, things are up in the air, but I like it. I'm definitely excited for this, where this episode leaves us. Great action. Love the bit of body horror we got with Salem just being blown up and her head, like her head was literally punched in. It was just like, dang. And she had, you know, the claws coming out of the ground and stuff. I thought that was a really cool mechanic. So I like the episode. It was definitely a good episode. We'll let you know what you guys thought about it. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. Of course, where are we headed next? What the heck is going to happen? What are they going to actually do with Salem? Because Oscar seemed very definitive on, like, you know, she's just going to follow us. If he stayed behind to do something to a person that literally cannot be killed, there's obviously a plan there. So I don't know if she's going to be frozen in time or what their plan is, but I would love to know your theory on that. Like, what move could actually take them out? Like I said, I think it's something brand new technically. So I don't know, some sort of weird freeze ray type of situation, I would assume. But I would love to know your theories on, like, with the way this episode ended, they kind of got one up on a character who has no one now. She lost her hound. He was killed in the last episode. So, like I said, once again, Tyrion's the only person, and he's off on a mission somewhere else. So she's screwed as of now. But I would love to know your theories on where that leaves her, where that leaves us for, you know, the show. What's gonna happen next? I would assume we're gonna go back to, you know, RWBY's team. I would prefer that that doesn't happen because this was so exciting. But I think they're unfortunately going to be jumping, you know, back and forth. But we'll love to know your theories on where, you know, things are going to go based on just the madness of the, you know, end of this episode. And like I said, I definitely want to know what you guys thought about the episode as a whole. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.